in Congress, they must meet. I mean, they must meet at least once a year. They start in January 3rd, is I believe the date they start. But in order for them to have elections and things, they must have what they call a quorum to do business, to conduct business. And what is a quorum? What's a quorum? And that vocab word is actually on page 250 under the vocabulary. Dustin, what's a quorum?
Minimum number of members that must be present for the official business.
Yeah.
Like take place.
Right, so it's the minimum number of people. And so they have to have a quorum in order to conduct business. Now they have rules and conduct. And what do they say about different types of rules that would be going on in both houses? How do they determine rules? What does it say about rules, Garrett?
They make their own rules.
Yep. Each house determines its own rules. The House has a set of rules. I'm sure it's a book size of rules. And the Senate has their own rules. For instance, there is a specific rule. The Senate has a rule that allows for debate on the floor. And most of the time, what people use a tactic called filibustering. And does anyone know what a filibuster is? This is a good little learning tactic. Garrett?
It's your opportunity to spout whatever you want for as long as you want.
Yeah, and so a senator can come down on the floor, and it says Senate rules. If you take a look at the closer look, it says Senate rules allow for debate on the floor. Using a tactic called filibustering, senators give long speeches to block the passage of a bill. So if they're getting ready to hold a vote on a specific bill, there's one coming up actually, they can go down on the floor. So let's say this is the floor, you guys are the senators, and they just start talking. Because if someone is out on the floor talking, you can't hold a vote. And so if you don't want something to be passed, because you know it's going to get passed, you get down there and you start speaking. And the rule is you cannot sit down, you can't leave, you can't stop talking. So, but you can, like if I'm in the middle of talking and I'm getting real tired, I could hand the floor over to Garrett, who's going to ask me a question. So Garrett, Garrett can talk a lot. Garrett might sit there, and then I'm like, oh, thank God, and I'm going to take some drinks of water while Garrett is talking. I may stand up here, and what's his face? Who gave the... Cruz was up there filibustering. He was up there reading a story to his son, because it's on TV. So he's up there reading a book. It doesn't matter what you talk about. One guy was up there reading recipes out of a recipe book. It doesn't matter what you talk about, you can talk. Garrett?
Since I can't think of any time I ever have anyone ever filibustered pro a bill, like filibuster so that we'll say the Democrats can't get the opportunity to filibuster the bill?
Probably not a really long one.
But like, would they go towards the end and kind of like block it so that the Democrats don't have any time to get down to the floor?
I don't know if it would be in their best interest to do that because with them talking, it gives them other side time to sway other people's opinions and things like that, so it might not make sense. The longest filibuster is 24 hours and 18 minutes by Strom Thurmond. Oh, what's his face broke it?
No, technically, the Strom Thurmond is considered the every last one of the people that talk, so it's 5 days.
Yeah, that's true. But they consider the record 24 hours. I think Ron Paul is getting ready to possibly filibuster here. He's threatening to filibuster, so that might be taking place soon. So the reason they're doing it is just to stop a bill from being voted on, and when he gets done talking, they're going to vote, and it's going to most likely pass anyway. But it's a tactic that they try to use because they don't want a bill to pass.
So you're saying if they just kept going, no one else... Can anybody else leave, or they have to stay there?
No one stay. No, usually they're talking to an empty room, and people that they're friends that will give them a little break, bring them water, or talk for them, and like, oh, did you have a comment, Mr. Bromley? And then you can start talking, so I can get a little break. But no, people aren't there. Some people are. I mean, and because the thing is about Congress is they have TV screens in their office, and they can see exactly what's going on in there. So there's really no reason for them to be there. Garrett?
Well, if you go on like C-SPAN, you can watch it.
Yeah, you could watch it too. So you can see what's going on in the House floor or Senate floor. Yes, Zach.
So their main thing they're trying to do is to stop the bill from passing.
Yes.
They're doing it, and they're giving their friends time to go around and try and get more votes for them.
That, and they know as soon as they're done talking, there's a vote. That's when it happens. and they just don't want to build a path. So they're doing everything they can in their power.
Until the day's done.
I could see Gary doing that.
Yeah, Garrett would be really good at that. All right. Next thing is each house has to keep an official record, like a journal, of what's going on in its proceedings, any votes that take place, the yays and the nays. They need to know who exactly voted yay, meaning yes, and nay, meaning no. They need to know exactly all of that stuff. So they have to, they just must keep a record of what is going on in their different proceedings. And one other thing is neither house can adjourn, be dismissed, for the, without consent of the other. So the House has to okay the Senate to leave, and the Senate has to okay the House to leave. So that's part of their adjournment process. Okay, the last part of this first part of Article 1 that we're going to talk about are their payments and privileges, because as a member of the House or Senate, you have some specific privileges that you get, and obviously payment and salaries. So take a look at those clauses under Section 6 about salary. Their salary comes out of, where does their salary come from? PJ?
United States Treasury.
The United States Treasury. So, where's it come from? Huh? Yeah, us. They shall receive compensation. It says that in Clause 1 under the salary that they shall receive compensation to be paid for out of the Treasury of the United States. That also, then it continues and it says, they shall in all cases, except treason, felony, breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the sessions of their respective houses. Meaning?
I don't think this says anything about murder.
Yeah, except murder. Well, I mean, that would be it doesn't say, you're right, it doesn't say anything about that. Felony would be that. Privileged from arrest during session. They are privileged from arrest, except during certain cases. Their salary right about now is probably close to $140,000. The speaker gets paid more than that, probably closer to $180,000. President, $430,000. Not really. As being president, $430,000. He doesn't get paid as much as a professional athlete. You need to get this down except for those things for the privilege from arrest. So when they started back in 1790, they earned $6 per day. Okay, now, like I said, they're up to $140,000 a year. And then the speaker does get more because he is a higher position. So you can see there's a difference, compared to certain different jobs, how much people get paid. Professional athletes are making tremendous amount more than your members in the House. They are the ones who determine their salaries. They are the ones who determine if they get a raise or not. Okay, so they determine those things. It's not come from someone else. It comes from themselves. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of the Senate. Looks just like the House. Who said wait?
Less people.
Eli, you got it? Can you show him what? I'll put it back. There you go. Which one you need?
And then felony.
Felony and breach of peace. Okay, it looks just like the House, except for not as many people. There's only 100 of them compared to the 435 House of Representatives members. Here is what it looks like on the outside. We will go there. That is the Capitol building. Can I draw?
Isn't the speaker there too?
Speaker's there too. Yep, there we go. Okay, this side, here you go, is the House, Senate.
And the middle is just a lot of fun.
This is your tourist people. We'll be going in there. And everybody else. But I want you to take a notice. What do you see right there?
I think that's
Like a circle.
What do you say? You see, it's the flag. What do you see right here, Colby? Nothing. Okay. When the flag is up, that means they are in session. If the flag is not up, they are not in session. This flag up here will always be flying. But flag not flying. They are not in session. So on this day the picture was taken, Senate was not in session, and the House was. And I could be backwards looking at it because I might be. One of these is the Senate and one is the House, and I know on the left is the Senate, but it depends which side I'm looking at. But this House is in session because their flag is flying. This House is not in session, their flag is not flying. So you know, when we go to visit this place in March, when we're going, look and see if the flag is flying, because if it's flying, that means there are tons of people in the building there that are doing some business, taking care of business. Okay? So this is the part we will be going in and touring and seeing what's it like. There's this is a place where like the old House of Representatives met and the old Senate met and the old Supreme Court met in this part. These things are added on not really recently, but recently. You will also be able to see back during the War of 1812, which we'll get to eventually, the British tried to set fire to our Capitol building, and there will be some columns and things that you'll be able to look at and see that you can tell that they were set fire to. So this is our Capitol building. We will go, it's a very beautiful building. It's very cool to see. All right, questions on that part? All right, good. What we're doing now. Okay, we're going to continue with Article 1, but it's Part 2, so please start a new, just a new title, like just draw a line, and we're now doing Part 2. This isn't very much. Alright, we're going to flip over to page 252, and what we're going to talk about, we talk about laws all the time, and that the legislative branch does what with the laws? What's their job? What's the legislative branch's job for laws? Dustin? They make the laws. Well, before something is called a law, it is a bill, and it's introduced and all that good stuff, and we talked about filibustering, because once a bill is voted on, it will then either become law or not. We need to figure out how a bill becomes a law, because it is a crazy, crazy process. But on 252 and 253 at the bottom, it kind of shows you a little bit of an easier way than reading the Constitution. It's the same thing, but just kind of making it a little bit easier for us to understand. All right? So, there are different steps. We're going to go through 5 steps of what happens. Step 1. Okay, the very first thing that happens is it is introduced. Let's say it's a bill about smoking. No smoking in bars. That's based on states right now, state by state. So the House, let's say the House introduces it, and they say, okay, we have this bill here that we want to make it a law that there is no smoking in any public place in the country. The House can introduce a bill or the Senate can introduce a bill. It just depends on what side introduces it. So we're going to do our bill on smoking in public places is gone. So the House introduces it, and what they do after they introduce it is they refer it to a small committee. They don't refer it to all 435 members of the House, because you could imagine that that's quite a bit of work. Now, a bill might be this thick. All right? So, you going to read this whole thing?
No.
I'm not going to. Good God. You're going to hire a little associate to read it. You're going to have these assistants that work for you, and you're going to say, little assistant that gets paid $2,000 a month, very little money, read this, report back to me all the important things that I need to know. I got too much stuff on my plate. That's probably what's happening. They don't read all that stuff, so when bills get passed, they miss the stuff. So what happens is they start hiding things in there because they know that they're not going to read the whole thing. So it gets referred to a committee. Okay, it gets sent to a committee, and the committee takes a look at this. And there's committees, it's either a Senate committee or a House committee. And they look at it, they read it, and this bill becoming a law does not take place within a week. It takes a long time. So they take a look at it, they decide, okay, we like it, we're going to approve it, boom, stamp of approval. Or they say, we're going to rewrite it, and we're going to change the fact that instead of all public places, we're going to say all public places except for casinos. We'll let people smoke in casinos because we want the smokers to go. They like to gamble. Okay, so we rewrote it a little bit. or they can decide to what they call kill it. Meaning, we're not sending this on to the floor. This is ridiculous. Done. We don't like it. Okay? So they decide on what action they do. So let's say they say, okay, we like it. We like this whole bill about no smoking in public places. It sounds good. Boom, we move it to the floor. When we talk about the floor, we're talking about that big picture of the entire House of Representatives. So the House debates on it. Or the Senate, depending which one they send it to. So that's when you've got people that come down in front of everybody, or 4 or 5 people while the rest of them are watching it on their screen in their office. And they start talking about the pros and the cons about this bill and what it'll do, and it's quite a bit of work. After a long time, days, months, depends, they decide to vote on it. All right. If they vote on it, and then after, if it starts in the House, they vote on it, they pass it. It's got to go to the Senate. The Senate does the entire process. They look at it, they send it to their committee, they rewrite it or approve it or kill it, and then they do their debating on the Senate floor, and then they pass it or not. They can kill it if they don't like it. If they rewrite it, it's got to go back to the House. They got to do it all over again. Okay, so that's why it takes such a long process, because they always like, well, no, we want this. It's a mess. Zach?
The whole thing that you take the smoking in public places,
Right?
like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's hard to decide whether or not to let it happen, because for me, you could smoke in public places as long as there's not children.
Right. See, and that's the thing. We're not. I'm just throwing it out right now. That I'm just giving that up. I'm just using that as a sample, Zach. Not for us to debate it, because we would be here forever if we wanted to do that. All right. So that's step 3. Step 4. It passes both houses. Well, it hasn't passed. I guess I lie. Now it's going to in a second. Step 4 is the final approval. And both houses passed the bill. Woohoo! It's not over yet. We're not done yet. We still have more things to do. And then where does it go after both houses pass it? Does anybody know where it goes next? Dylan?
The president gets to either sign it or veto it.
Yep. The final step is it goes to the President of the United States. They slap it on his desk. He's knowing what's been going on because he pays attention to what's going on. So he's got people that are telling him all about the bill. By the way, he doesn't read the small little itty-bitty print either. He has someone that does it for him. And he either signs, like Dylan said, or vetoes the bill. We know what signing it means. Signing it means, yay, it's approved, it moves on. What does it mean to veto something?
Get rid of it.
Who said that? Okay, Zach?
Executive decision to get rid of it.
Zach?
Yeah, to get rid of it.
To basically get rid of. If he vetoes it and says he doesn't like it, it goes back to Congress. This is how our government system is great, because no one can be too powerful. So he can't just, he's not the law of the land, really. If he vetoes it, it goes all the way back to Congress. And if Congress, with a 2/3 vote, approves it, it still can become law. So just because the president has vetoed it, but it will be very difficult because you have quite a bit of people and you have to make 2/3 of the majority vote to become law. If he signs it, boom bam, it becomes a law.
Why is the president turning down a law that the House and Senate passed?
Well, if the majority of them are one party or the other, it doesn't happen too often, but he can. Okay, I want you to take a look at section number 8. You're going to use section number 8 to help you answer a writing assignment I'm giving you. That means you're going to read section 8. There are 18 clauses. There is one specific clause in section 8 that will help you write and do your assignment. You have to figure it out. And nobody blurt anything out right away or ever. Okay? I want you to read the whole thing. Your assignment if I can find it. Is this it here? Article 1 writing. How does Article 1, and I'm telling you it's in Section 8, how does Article 1 show that the Constitution is a clearly defined yet flexible document? We talked about this early on, what flexible means and all that. Think about what it means. I want you to write a short paragraph on how this document is flexible. Yeah. Okay? So a short paragraph, you will turn this in. Please don't keep it with your notes. It's titled Article 1 Writing.